Let's begin in the northeastern region of the country, where the governors of the forum met. They had a foreign governors forum meeting, and they came out of that meeting lamenting the situation in that region. They're also concerned that the region has been neglected in the allocation of federal government capital projects. The forum noted with dismay that despite its cry for attention on the state of infrastructure in the region, which has been consistently echoed in all its communiques over the years, especially the poor road and railway infrastructure along the economic corridors that link the northeast sub-region to the rest of the country, nothing serious seemed to be happening. Let's at least listen to one of the governors of the northeast speaking after the end of the meeting.
Forum reiterates its concern over the seeming neglect of the Northeast in the allocation of the federal government capital project. It noted with dismay that despite its cry for attention on the state of infrastructure in the region, which has been consistently echoed in all its communique over the years, especially the poor roads and railway infrastructures along the economic corridors that links the Northeast sub-region to the rest of the country. The region is also not included in the National Infrastructure Plan for the transition from the PMS to compressed gas. The forum is calling on the federal government to look into the situation and consider the reconstruction of these basic infrastructures along Enugu-Maiduguri economic corridors and inclusion of the Northeast in all national development plans and initiatives.
That's the governor of Adamawa State, Amadou Fintiri, was speaking. We read the communique after the meeting in Bauchi. It was a day or two after the defense headquarters had come out to say they've made tremendous progress in rooting out insurgents, and they are going after some of them also who are remaining, causing havoc in different parts of the northeastern region of the country, and of course, in some parts of the country. But let's take a look at and dissect deeply what the implication of the concern of these governors are, the situation with security in the country. I'm being joined tonight by a political and social commentator and a former executive secretary National Health Insurance Scheme. Professor Usman Yusuf joins us live here in our Abuja studio. Thanks so much, Prof. And it's good to see you again.
Thank you for having me.
When you, hearing the governors of the Northeast region lamenting the situation in the region, what comes to your heart when you hear that kind of complaint about the seeming neglect by the federal government?
Right, and to be honest, Shehu, I'm surprised you called me. There are people a lot more qualified and more eloquent, and they know the Northeast than I. But be that as it may, this balkanization of Nigeria worries me. Northeast, Southeast. When we were growing up, we didn't have Northwest, Northeast, North Central, North this, not that, not that. We had one Nigeria. And all you hear are lamentations. Oh, we need this, we need this, we need this, we need this, we need this. Yeah, every region, we have issues. What is the Northeast Development Commission doing? What have they done since they were inaugurated? They were brought to develop the Northeast after the ravages of Boko Haram. What have they done, and what have been the roles of these governors in holding them accountable? In the last government, President Buhari's government, they had a very good representation. The chief of staff was the one that shepherded the creation of Northeast Development Commission. And now there is a vice president, there is NSA, there is, what are they doing to address these issues?
How bad is the seeming neglect of the Northeast region of the country? You understand that region very well.
No, Northwest. I understand Northwest. I don't know Northeast. I'll tell you, the North, we complain in the Northwest that we had a president that we never had anything from. Go to Katsina today, where I come from. There's nothing that we had a president for 8 years. The Northwest, let him tell us what he's done. He couldn't even complete the Abuja to Kano highway for 8 years. How more neglectful can that be?
The same
I'm
thing
not- yeah,
that the governor of the Northeast
Good.
is saying. They say, in fact, in terms of infrastructure, the economic corridors have been abandoned.
Absolutely.
In terms of road network,
Yeah.
in terms of railway construction. I mean, what has been happening so much that it looks like this has happened over the years without anybody? Could it be the insurgency that has ravaged that region, that has destroyed all of this infrastructure? Or that region has been like that for years?
No, I'm not, and I'm not minimizing the issues that the governors are raising. The Northeast, because of Boko Haram, has literally been devastated. You sit down with senior military officers that were there, that fought in the field, they will tell you, this is not what we would wish for any region. The whole region has been devastated. Outside Maiduguri, there's not much. The whole region, education is pillaged. We have malnutrition there, the health. Look at the number of doctors in Maiduguri. You would cry. The region has suffered the devastation of Boko Haram, and that is what we are seeing here. And that's exactly what is translating in the Northwest. The region has been in a mess for now 15 years, fighting a war for 15 years. No region can sustain what the Northeast has gone through. The question is, what have the governors been doing? What do they do? Now governors are awash with money after removal of subsidy. How have they been taking care of the issues of the people? Education, health. They went to Bauchi and they inaugurated the mansion of the government house, as if that's the priority of people of Bauchi. Governors are awash with money and their priorities are messed up. The reality is, in the North, not only the Northeast, three major problems: ravaging insecurity, excruciating poverty, and hunger. It's all over the region.
You talked about that too.
All over the region.
They say that the socio-economic situation in the Northeast is very bad.
Absolutely.
Price of commodities, hunger in that region, malnutrition, and poverty. The governors also brought it back.
These are the three main
But what do you make of the manner in which our nation is structured, our federal system is structured? It's supposed to allow the federating units to be able to live their own lives in such a way that they can stand on their own and minimally look up to the center for help. But it does look like everyone suck up to the center.
Yeah, because that's...
And the survival of the constituent unit is limited.
Right, because that's where all the money is. That's where all the money is. Anybody that has the money, and then he has control of everybody else goes to him. And this is what all the governors do. They go with their pants every month, collect the money, and a lot of them go to the BDC, change the money into dollars, nothing get back home. This is the sad situation we are in. In the North, if I'm the president or if I'm the governor in any state, we are richer than the South.
In what sense?
Many ways. Three things. The North, agriculture, if we concentrate on three things: agriculture, solid minerals, and solar, we'll be done. All the water, all the hydroelectric power stations are in the North. Mambila. The Northeast is complaining there's no power. When
Mambila nothing is happening.
Yeah.
There's a lot of lamentation.
Yeah, who was there? Who was there before? If we had developed Mambila, we wouldn't be in this mess. The North is richer than the South. We need
in terms of agriculture, untapped deposits.
Absolutely. We have the land for agriculture. We can feed not only Nigeria, but the whole of West Africa. Secure our people, let them go back to the farm. Number two, and do not abandon agriculture and go and run after this oil that is fluctuating all over the place. Solid minerals, we have it all. Why is the fight in Zamfara and all over this northwestern state? Because of gold.
Largely.
Yeah, a lot of it. And then previously in the last government, the National Security Advisor will come and say, oh, mining has been banned, no fly zone, no follow-up. And thirdly, and people should ask, where has been the gold of Zamfara? Where is the gold? We have the sun. We can power not only the region, but we can power the whole of the country. But all the governors largely, I mean, look, we look at the president more than we look at the governors. To be honest with you, largely 80% of our problems are the governors.
Would you say that the major problem of the North is bad leadership?
It's not only the North, the whole of the country is only just a measure of degrees. Just a measure of degrees all over the country.
Because you look at the indices. You look at the indices in the northern region of the country compared to the south. You imagine the human capital development, poverty figures there. And it's out of school children, absolutely. Malnutrition, poverty. A lot of the indices that determine human capital development they're in the negatives when you talk about the northern region of the country. And that's why I asked the question, what is the role? And you also imagine, in terms of quota, how many leaders at the national level have governed this country? You see that we perhaps will have had more presidents in the northern region of the country than the southern region of the country.
Right, and it's corruption and bad governance. I've said it again and again and again and again. We've had leaders in this country that we have benefited from, and all of these governors, all of these ministers have benefited from the good governance of our leaders past. All of them.
In the First and Second Republic.
Absolutely. They were good custodians of that which they were entrusted with.
What went wrong? Where did we start to get it wrong?
They were good custodians. They trained us. They did not accumulate. But now everybody else, the governor wants to not only accumulate, but leaves the state treasury empty. Not only that, indebted. So the goal, the primary thing is corruption and bad governance. Corruption and bad governance. It's everywhere. It's only more pronounced here because of the insecurity. It's going to bite us. And I've been saying it again and again, again and again. How many governors, how many ministers, how many service chiefs can retire and go back home and stay? Like those leaders of our time used to do. They used to go back home and stay with their people. Shagari went back home and stayed with his people. How many of these governors, these service chiefs, these ministers will go back home? Ancestral home. All IDPs in Abuja because of bad governance. Right. We have our borehole, we have huge fence with electric fence, we have security man with a gun, we have dogs inside the house, we have CCTV. We don't feel safe after accumulating all of this. And we've forgotten home. And I said it again and again and again and again. We, all of us, bore the pregnancy and gave birth to this mess we're seeing around.
There are those who have said over and over again that we're sitting on a keg of gunpowder.
Yeah,
that word has been said over and over again. That keg, the sitting on it has been for so long. And now perhaps the gunpowder is exploding in our faces as we see because of some of the situation that the kind of violence that emanate in some parts of this country. And you imagine the ideological and the psychological orientation that is breeding this kind of violence, where it's coming from. And I guess it's the sitting or the keg of gunpowder that is already now blasting in our faces.
But you see, it's the injustice. I come to Abuja, sometimes I see Wike is doing a good job. Roads and and I go back home, I see the poverty. I say, so we have money in this country? Or I see a governor building flyovers where millions of people, Nigerians, in his neighborhood, predominantly women and children, go to bed hungry. So we have money to do all of this, but we don't have money to take care of people. We don't employ our kids. We don't feed. Our hospitals are in a mess. Our schools are in a mess, and we expect peace. We come to Abuja, build big houses with razor wire fences, electric fence, and expect to live in peace. Peace will never come to any society where there is this much injustice and inequity. We'll only be deceiving ourselves, going around town in big black SUVs and sirens.
Let me allow you to, I know you're passionate about, you've made a lot of effort and collaborated with a lot of people with the issue of security in this country. And a lot of the times, I'm excited, as much as I know that we are still far from achieving the result of securing Nigeria 100%. But when there are efforts that are being made, it's good to assess and see how far we have come. Prof, let me allow you to listen to the spokesperson of the Defense Headquarters, who gave a breakdown of some of the efforts that the military have made in rooting out insurgents and some violent extremists in our country in the past few weeks. Take a listen to him.
The troops recorded additional surrender of terrorists and their family members, and these surrenders took place in Mafa and Bama local government areas of Borno State, as well as Gujba local government area of Yobe State. The troops of Operation Hadinkai also conducted offensive operations at locations such as Damboa, Mafa, Dikwa, Goza.
All right, you heard him. What gladdens your heart from this effort? Do you think from what we saw in the last 1 year and now, we're making a gradual process in securing this country somehow?
You see, the military, they're doing their best and more. No military can withstand this much stretch. 15 years of Boko Haram, 9 years of
banditry.
How many soldiers do we have? Stretched all over the country, deployed all across 36 geopolitical zones.
And sit at home and hyper agitation
everywhere,
the southeast.
No, everywhere. And largely, a lot of what they're doing, internal policing. They are taking the responsibility of the police. They are taking the responsibility of everybody. They are doing their part and they are doing more. But we are overstretching our military. There are conflicts that are not military. We are continuing to militarize it. I've said it again and again. Without the military, you and I will not be sitting here talking and criticizing them. They're doing their part. It's our duty and responsibility as citizens too. We have children, we have younger brothers. All our mates have left the military way high up there. This is our military. Nobody else's military. Without them, we wouldn't be here sitting criticizing. And we salute them for whatever they are doing. We are putting our military, especially in the Northwest and North Central, through difficult things, where everybody should come in. I've said it again and again, the banditry. I know you don't hear me talk about Boko Haram because honestly, I don't know it much. And there are people a lot more qualified, a lot more eloquent than I to speak about that. Banditry is what I have invested time in all this time. We must all come in. We are exposing the military too much in political mess. Banditry has been the political mess politicians are creating and continuing to nurture. We must help the military and all come in. Where the military needs to be, the military needs to be. There's a role for the military. There's not going to be a military solution to banditry. I've said it again and again. They've done a wonderful job in Boko Haram. They've liberated almost all the local governments. I think only one, if that, without... The former chief of defense staff used to tell us when we were doing this job, when we were getting this trained guys out, say, gentlemen, remain focused. I have been to the Northeast. I have seen the devastation of war. We don't want this in any part of this country. Do your part. And this is what the military is doing, overstretched. Whoever sees a soldier today, salute him for what he or she are doing for this country. Politicians are not doing their part. They are not.
What do you think they should be doing?
Politicians? Mm-hmm. A lot of the drivers of banditry, insecurity, the levers, governors and politicians have it in their hands. Education, malnutrition, drugs, unemployment. These are the drivers that fuel all of this. And you're calling soldiers to come and fight this when the politician has it. He's living here as if it is 1999 and sending soldiers to quell to shoot places where there's no water, where there is no food. The military, we are putting them in an impossible situation where politicians are not doing their part. They're getting frustrated, and we are seeing that period of frustration. They pulled out of 2 bandit-infested areas, one in Zamfara, in Maru, and one in Shiroro. They've taken hits all over this country. You hear from Delta to Zamfara to Katsina to Kaduna. Officers and men lost from ambushes. The 8 months of this government, we've lost about, as is reported, many they don't report, over 500 officers and men in these conflicts, ambushes in these conflicts. For goodness sake. They are there to protect and save our people, and these terrorists are killing them. What are we doing? What are you doing? When you're doing your part, sometimes I say, what am I doing? Everybody must do his part.
If you look at it fundamentally, and we need to start holding our politicians and those who are in power accountable. If you say they are corporates, and in all of this, and why we have so much of this eating into our polity and destroying a gradual destruction, because when the rats start eating up the bread, it eats it in crumbs until the bread vanishes. The question is that in the immediate, what can the average citizen be looking at as an expectation on the politicians, on the leaders who are in political power, whom you have accused of neglect to the people?
And I'm telling you, to be honest, the ordinary citizen has given up. He has given up.
On the politicians?
On the politicians. You go to, there is a report by the American Society or Nigerian Society of Hypertension. Doctors that take care of people who have hypertension. Of the 70 million Nigerians, adults, that have hypertension, half of them, that's 35 million, are not on medication because of the skyrocketing cost of medications. They've stopped taking their medications. That's why we see a lot of complications from hypertension, strokes, heart disease, renal failure. People die. People don't go to hospital because they cannot afford it. It's not the soldier that does this. What is the price of a loaf of bread now? Family loaf in Abuja, 1,200, 1,300. You go to many villages. You bring out 1,000 naira, wallahi, nobody can give you change. That's how poor people are. Yet our leaders are here, they are disconnected from realities of our people. We've seen how the other time members of the Senate are saying, oh, this one got 500 million, this one got 200 million. They are disconnected from realities of our people. People have given up on them. There is nothing a politician from top, from local government to the president, that will tell the people that they will believe him now. This is the honest truth. They've lost faith. They've lost faith in our politicians with good reasons too. Because all deception, we're going to do this, nothing happens. Look at this. I mean, on the 8th of February, Mr. President gave an order, a directive, that 42,000 metric tons of grains should be taken out of strategic reserve silos and given to vulnerables. Today is 4 months. Which vulnerable Nigerian has gotten this? For one governor, one northern governor even declared 5 working days we are going to distribute this palliatives. Nothing happened. What really angers me, 64 years after independence, we are still distributing grains to people. Just like you see in the Sudan or in Gaza, in a country of plenty. In a country where we're building, the president is building a highway from Lagos to Calabar of 15.6 trillion. That is 56% of the 2024 budget. People are lining up to get cups of grains from the governors. All the windfall the governors get, they go back home, they give people grains, cups of grains, women and children to shut them up while they continue. And you expect peace? Can never be peace in a country like this.
Prof, if you look at the last, and we need to start holding government accountable and those who are in position of leadership, you look at what has happened over the last 300 plus days of this government, how would you assess it?
I've said it. I've just written a paper that said Tinubu's reign of deception, destitution, and hopelessness. So we're going to do this. The example I just gave you, they're going to deliver palliatives in 4 months. Nobody has gotten it. It's one thing after the other. People have lost hope. Destitution, our people, it really hurts me and pains me to see our people, predominantly women and children, lining up.
The government promised renewed
to
hope.
get cups. Renewed hope has turned into hopelessness. Get any young man anywhere on the street. We're even talking of Abuja, go to the villages, where we all come from. People have lost hope.
The government says that, I mean, it's an initial pangs of pains of the policies, that things will start getting better. Are you hopeful at all? That some of these policies may be good in its sense, but maybe we are not seeing the result just yet.
No, I honestly, I mean, and I've been here before. So I went in the last 1 year. And from next week, they will start telling us their propaganda. What have they done that has benefited the ordinary person? What have they done? In a span of 1 year, they have made millions more people back into multidimensional poverty. They have pushed millions more children into out of school because parents cannot pay for their school fees. They have put many more people hungry in 1 year. So what have you done? What have you done? I want government to tell us, don't give me the story about, oh, they're just floating the dollar. It's all another deception. You increase the taxes, you hike the interest rate, and you borrow money thinking you'll prop the naira artificially, and you keep taxing everybody. This is exactly what he did, what the president did in Lagos. Tax, 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 tax. And the economic team, to me, honestly, look more like tax collectors than economists. Taxation does not grow economies. Only production does. They seem out of, they're out of their depth, to be honest. The common man does not see the way out. The last year has been a year of nothing but deception, destitution, and hopelessness.
Professor Usman Yusuf, thank you so much for your thought. I appreciate it. And I hope that our nation will be better for it if government and those who are in power listen to voice of dissent and criticism for the good of our people. We'll all be better for it. Thanks so much, Prof. As always.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Very much. Thank you.
We'll take a break, everyone. And when we return, Senator Ita Enang will be joining me. He's a lawyer and a former member of the Federal Senate, and he'll be telling us about the reprimand and the discipline for some judges by the NJC. And we also will be looking at what this government has done in the last 1 year. Stay with me, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. So we saw some decision from the National Judicial Council, which is the body that regulates and does discipline for the judiciary. So there are 2 judges from elevation to the Court of Appeal over breaches of judicial process. The sanctioned judges are Justice Inyang Ekwo of the Federal High Court and Justice Godwin Perkins Okolosi of the Delta State High Court. The NJC took the decisions on other ones, including announcing new judicial appointments and launching new probe of some judges at his 105th meeting held on the 15th and 16th of this month. The meeting was presided by the Chief Justice of Nigeria and the Chairman of the Council, Justice Ariwola. I'm being joined by a very senior lawyer and a former member of the Senate, Senator Ita Enang. He joins us live here in our studio. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you very much, and thank you.
I mean, these are judges that we hear their names in several cases, and NJC coming down on them, suspending their elevation is some kind of petition. They struck out some petition against some other judges where we saw petitions. But when we see this kind of petitions against judges, it means one thing, that people are worried, either the bar or the society.
Yeah, let me commend the National Judicial Council because, not because they have taken these decisions, but because they sat and gave due hearing to the petitions that were filed, and also heard their lordships against whom petitions were filed. And in law, there is one thing we say, that even God in all his wisdom did not pass judgment on Adam before he had asked him, before he had heard him. And it shows that the National Judicial Council is up, is active, and it gives the public the confidence that they can still approach the judiciary and have confidence. And if there is any officer of the judiciary that does anything which is found untoward, that the National Judicial Council and other institutions are there to deliver. And of course, one of the things that I found very interesting again is from the statement of Soyoji, the spokesperson of the NJC, that that some of the decisions of the petitions were dismissed because the issues involved in them were matters which could be resolved on appeal. That means it's a question of interpretation of the law. So if you go to court and you are not satisfied with the judgment you've obtained, one way or the other, it is not to petition the judge. It is to seek the appellate and intervention.
Yeah, but when we see this kind of decision from the NJC, and you hear a lot of people saying they are fast losing their trust in the judiciary, what kind of danger does this portend for our society?
I believe that people are not losing their trust. It is if this kind of things happen and the body that is in charge of it is not taking any action, you know. Now, the action that has been taken in respect of these two, their lordship, the two judges of the Federal High Court, you know, the ultimate aim of any lawyer is elevation. In your practice, you want to be a senior advocate of Nigeria. In your career in the judiciary on the bench, you want to get to the Supreme Court. And so it is not that you want, or a lot of them want to have good rise up to the position of being either the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court or Chief Judge of the FCT or Chief Judge of the other state, or to the Court of Appeal, and ultimately to the Supreme Court. So if anything happens that you are barred from aspiring for a year or two, and when the time comes for you to also seek again, there may be some other person from your block, from your zone, or from your state who has a higher score than you, and then the person may be elevated before you. So it makes the judges, it makes their lordships a lot more careful and circumspect in every aspect of their actions. Their relationship with the, the way they consider the files and the issues, the legal issues raised in each case, and the way they conduct the proceedings in court so as to give confidence to both parties.
But Senator, I mean, you've spent quite a number of time, I imagine almost about 30 years or more in the bar, and you understand the nuances, the sociological effects of the work of the judges. Not so much about whether the society or the people that are involved feel comfortable or are happy about the judgment of court, but whether or not the judges are doing what is right by the law and by the dictates of their calling. So the question is, we saw a lot of tension after the 2023 elections. There are a lot of people wondering what exactly are and it's not about the Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court judgment alone. It's also about all of the judgments that we've seen at the different layers, and those who are calling to question the kind of court orders, the injunctions, the counter injunctions, the colluding or the colliding judgments that are interfacing and interfering in each other, which makes a whole lot of things so confusing. And average Nigeria will be wondering, what exactly is going on? Sometimes people believe that maybe there are underhandlings in some of these things.
What we need to do, what I urge the public to do, is that you should have confidence in the judiciary. And sometimes when you go to court, you have counsel, and sometimes the issues are not presented properly by your lawyer. And sometimes the issues are properly defended by the other side. And the judge will always say, from the evidence before me, from the facts before me, from the processes before me, And this is what you have. Okay. There are situations where, for instance, you have constitutional interpretation of if you defect from your political party, you lose your seat. Now, and there is a defection. And there is a question of, can these people who have defected from their own political parties still be said to be members of the legislative house from which they have defected from? Now, the question will then be in the, before the law. Have you proved or laid before the court that these persons have defected in actual fact? If the people say they have not defected, and there are evidence to the contrary, or they say, I have defected, I'm no more a party to that, and then you take them to court, and you seek injunction that having defected, they should not lose their seat. It depends on all the issues that are presented and all the circumstances. Was there a sitting? Was there a proper inauguration of that legislature? Was there the maze? Was there a lot of situations? Is there the vote and proceedings from which it could be deduced in that vote and proceedings that they have personally defected? No, the court will look at all this before it comes to a decision that they have defected and that they should accordingly lose their seat. Now, if that happens, and if the contrary is the case, the public will say, this is what was decided in the other case. Why is it different this way? So these are questions that has to do with presentations.
I look at the appointments that are being made, and that those who have questioned those appointments, relatives of politicians, relatives of senior judges who are now being appointed, and the likes of Professor Odinkalu, who is appointment to the bench these days have now come in, as a form of there's some words that he used I don't want to use. It's now become hereditary, or and I don't think there is anything wrong if you have family members who are equally qualified. But when the people are having a feeling that there are nepotistic tendencies in the appointment of judges, it causes those appointments to question. And it brings one thing that is fundamental, the independence of the appointment of these judges. How can we fix this?
The independence of the...
in the appointment of judges.
Well, there is the process for the appointment of judges. And it starts sometime with the recommendations by the appropriate judicial bodies, either the governors, after a lot of filtering, and also from the states, it will come by way of nominations from the judges and from the justices. It will come from a lot of recommendations and so on. And all those processes will lead to the final. I want to say that there are issues of concern, but I also want to say that the fact that you are a relative of a judicial officer of high standing, and you have your record of number of cases, your record of the quality of your judgment, the record of the number of cases from your court that has been tested on appeal and they have found to stand the test of the law, the number of cases that and your comportment, let me not use the word comportment, your I don't want to use it.
Professionalism.
Yes, in everything. Now, that does not disqualify you. And of course, again, if you are a relative, a husband, a wife, a son, or an in-law of a politically exposed person, that should not, on its own, prevent you from having your career rise to the peak.
But there are those who believe that some of these tendencies are politically motivated tendencies.
There could be a belief.
Over merit.
No, I wouldn't think over merit. There could be a belief. And like Justice, His Lordship, Lord Denning will say, the man on the Clapham bus. What will he think? In the man on the ordinary man on the street, what will he think? Does he think it has been right? That can be. But the fact of that relationship on his own should not disqualify a person from getting to the height of his profession. Now, get this. His Lordship, Justice Mary Odili, retired Justice of the Supreme Court, is the wife of the former governor of Rivers State. She was the first lady of that state. And she, in my opinion, had kept a lot of distance between the political exposure of the husband after finishing her tenure as First Lady. And even as First Lady, she was, in a way, insulated. And she kept her rise to the Court of Appeal and merited her appointment elevation to the Supreme Court. Now, the wife of the former head of state, Abubakar, was a justice of the High Court. Then he rose to the Court of Appeal, and the former head of state of Nigeria, and I think she's still at the bench. Now, the fact that the husband was president of the country did not prevent her from following her career path. The greatest of what every family, every person should do is the fact that you are married to a politically exposed person should not endanger your own career. The politically exposed person may have her danger, may her political tenure may cut short, and tenure always defined. And of course, the fact that when it's over, it shouldn't terminate that of the husband or the wife.
Let me take a pause quickly, and I'll go on a short break again. But when we come back, I'll get a view of Senator Itai Enang over President Tinubu's in the last 1 year, the performance and expectations from Nigerians. Take a break, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Senator Itai Enang, a former senator, has been talking to us on the program. Thank you so much indeed. Let's switch the conversation now to make a little assessment of President Bola Tinubu's 1 year in office. Professor Usman said, look, it's been a very poor outing for the president in the last 1 year from his own assessment. How would you assess? You are an insider in the APC also, so you understand what is going on. But it does look like there's a lot of disaffection. There's a lot of feeling that the government has not done way up to the expectation of what they promised at the campaigns.
I want us to do the assessment based on the challenges that were there. First, there were issues of subsidy before the last administration. And in the last administration, subsidy was budgeted for only up to June because the problems we have today were expected and anticipated by the outgone government. But they said, look, if we take some of these things head on, there may be challenge of situations which are capable of affecting perhaps the democratic process or the stability that may, one way or the other, challenge the nation. So the budget, there was no budget for subsidy on petroleum products. And when the president came, he considered that if I don't have budget for a petroleum product subsidy for beyond May or June, how do I manage it at the beginning? And so he considered it appropriate to remove the subsidy. And removing the subsidy had the question of challenge on the currency, challenge on the availability of petroleum products. And it wasn't done without plan. It was done with plan of the compressed natural gas being a substitute for it. It was done with the plan of getting the refineries working. It was done with the plan that the Dangote refinery was commissioned and was capable of producing
Senator,
this thing.
Yeah, Senator, to wrap this up, just in about 30 seconds or thereabout, the fact remains that at the end of the day, all of the plan of government and the promises made is to better the lives of the citizen. But you look at all of the indices, they're in the negative. How do you explain that to the average citizen, that the government is really working for them? Just in 30 seconds, if you may.
I don't think they are in the negative. I don't think they are in the negative. It is only that it has affected the currency, it has affected the purchasing power, but a few of this has led to more domestic production of food. It has led to ban on importation of food, and there is capacity to produce food within. And a lot of you'll see a lot of stability in the labor sector, the productivity. You'll see the questions on education. You'll see the reversal in the amount of dollar going out for the payment of education, because a lot has been done to make sure Nigerians have confidence in the national education system, that they now invest here in education. You'll see a lot that is happening in industrialization. You'll see a lot that is happening in several other sectors. You know, everything takes plan, and we saw the problem, and we planned how to. At the stage of trying to make the plans mature, there will be pain. What Nigerians are having now is, for instance, what we call the pain of the needle of injection. But the effect of the cure that the injection will bring will be long-lasting.
Senator,
so I urge Nigerians to bear with the pain, which are getting over, and then the government is landing well, and the effect of their plan is beginning to show in the petroleum sector, is beginning to show in the value of the currency, or there's a little bit up and down. It's also beginning to show in a lot of other sections, and it simply takes a little bit of more patience. But we appreciate the challenge of the president and the federal government. But let Nigerians not forget that the federal government receives only 52% of the national revenue, and the other 48% is received by the state government, the state governors, the state and the local government. And so they also should show what they do, because it is the collectivity of what the state governments do and the local governments do that gives effect to performance of the government. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Senator Itayanang, a very senior lawyer and a former senator. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
That's our program tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. God bless Nigeria.